I'm calculating about 4 steps. Our steps are going to be 160 millimeters high. I'm using a different process on adding the concrete to this slab. Here you can see how I'm using that straight edge we installed on the side of the house. We're doubling up the amount of steel we put in the concrete bottom step of our staircase.
You come and go like a monsoon rain. You hide and show like a lightning bolt. You have it all.
There's a pathway leading from the road and a staircase structure to get you up to the deck level. The practical part of this project was creating access to the driveway and stairs that brought you up to the deck height. One of the main elements of this project was constructing this staircase. It ended up being calculated out as 4 steps to give you a nice step height. It's made out of solid concrete, built with a form to create a really solid staircase. While I'm letting the concrete harden up on the last slab we poured, I'm starting some of the preparation for the concrete steps we're going to be constructing. By measuring from the ground height to the top of the deck, I'm calculating about 4 steps will create a reasonable stairway. Most local councils have rules about minimum and maximum step height. Our steps are going to be 160 millimeters high, which is slightly above the minimum step height and well below the maximum. The tread length is going to be 385 millimeters, which is slightly larger than my foot and will create a safe and comfortable staircase. After finalising the design for these stairs, I can install the timber planking on the side of the house we're going to need to hold the concrete structure in place as we build it. I'm cutting all the treated timber planking to length and stacking it in place for material selection to make sure I don't have any unsightly imperfections in the timber. When the planking's too wide for my timber to cut it all the way through, I flip it upside down to finish the cut. By lining up all the timbers in place, I can make one last check to make sure I'm using the right side for looks. I need to mark out where our planking is going to start. I'm using my spirit level to create a perfectly plumb vertical line for us to build off. I want all the screws and the planks to line up exactly, so I've set up a template system here where I'm going to pre-drill all my planking, and by using a template it makes it quick, efficient, and we'll end up with a really nice end result. I always drill pilot holes to help stop the timber splitting. I make sure my first plank is lined up plumb using my spirit level, then work my way along to the corner. I only put 1 screw in on this first pass, and later when I double check that everything's lined up, we'll come back and add a second screw along the whole row. I'm finishing off the last section with planks laid horizontally. These will be hidden by the staircase landing. I need them to be strong enough to be able to hold all the concrete we'll be pouring for this structure. Our concrete slab is hardened up enough now for us to remove the cross pieces. I needed the cross pieces to set the height of the first 2 slabs, but this next slab is going to be poured between the 2 existing slabs, so we don't need these cross pieces any longer. This 2x4 I'm setting up against the side of the house will keep this slab matching the 2 existing slabs. We're adding our steel mesh the same way we've done for all the other foundations. Today I have a little helper called Gus. I'm using my standard concrete mix of a 6:1 ratio. I use this particular type of wheelbarrow because it's low enough for the cement mixer to be able to dump the concrete into it easily. The 4 wheels make it really stable so I don't have any spills. I'm using a different process on adding the concrete to this slab than we did with the others. Once I've got the volume of concrete close to the top of our forms, I use my shovel to top up the concrete so I can keep control and not end up with any spills. Here you can see how I'm using that straight edge we installed on the side of the house to smooth out this concrete with my 2x4 screeder. I'm agitating my 2x4 back and forth to get a really smooth finish on the concrete. Then I add more concrete by shoveling it from the barrow and continue the process. I finish off this slab by smoothing out the edges where it overlaps into the pre-existing slab. While we let this concrete harden up, we'll continue our work on the final foundation at the end of the pathway. I'm doing a little cleanup on this foundation. I was using this as a place to dump my excess concrete because it was out of the way. Now the concrete's hardened, I'm breaking it up and removing it in my wheelbarrow. Later I'll be able to recycle these pieces in our concrete step. I'm excavating some excess gravel I added as part of the platform for the concrete mixer when I was pouring the earlier slab. The property owner's little dachshund, called Gus, wants to help me out with this gravel. I need to excavate it to a depth of 150 mil. I like to take a little break when I've finished one part of the job before I move on to the next part. I find it really important to stop, pause, take a break from thinking and doing, get present. And then when I move on to my next task, I'm much more effective and efficient. After removing the timber crosspiece we used on the previous slab, I always give it a bit of a clean up. I often reuse all these forms again later. The steel reinforcement bar and mesh in this slab is going to be done a little differently. Because of the proximity of this slab next to the driveway, we're doubling up the amount of steel we put in the concrete. This is to avoid having cracks in it when cars inevitably drive on it in the future. Because of the odd trapezoid shape of this slab, I'm cutting the steel in place, making sure I leave a 50mm gap around the entire edge next to the timber formwork.
Quiet voices in the night. Time is running out of sight. Lonely wind is passing by, tries to carry all the whispers that it finds. The walls are listening when we talk, making echoes as we walk. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me, that our minds be caught up in a dream.
So we've got the start of our staircase formed out. I penciled it out over here on our treated timber. We're going to follow that template. Our first step is set by the bottom height of this timber here. Today all I'm trying to do is get this first step in and a bit of a structure on the back side of it. I've built out a bit of a dam out of timber in the middle here. That's just for us to manage our pour today, because I can only get so much concrete in one hit and we've got some bad weather coming. I'm using this aluminium running board as one of my forms because it's dead flat and dead straight. And when we use timbers, sometimes they've got a bit of a bow in them or the concrete can push them out. So this way our wall that's holding in these 4 steps can end up plumb and flat. And then as each concrete slab sets up, we're just going to move this up. So today's just get step 1 in the ground and next week we can worry about the rest. Before I fill this form with concrete, I want to go through the procedure of how we constructed it. With accurate measurements, I create a detailed drawing and then transpose this drawing onto the timber work here so we can build directly off it. The idea is to copy my scale drawing onto the timber wall here using my spirit level and a pencil. I'm drawing out the entire staircase accurate to the millimeter. This will ensure that all the steps come out exactly at the same height through the construction process. Having an accurate scale drawing is really handy for calculating materials. I'm now constructing a small form for the concrete at the end of the landing. Quiet voices in the night.
Time is running out of sight. A lonely wind is passing by. Tries to carry all the whispers that it finds. The walls are listening when we talk, making echoes as we walk. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see.
I'm cutting and fitting a piece of timber that's going to create the bottom step of our staircase. I take my time with this process, as these pieces are critical for how our whole staircase is going to come out. Once we turn it into concrete, it's really hard to change. I install the second step in place and double check it with my level. This is going to ensure the height for the first step and helps work as an indicator for how much concrete we have to add to get it to the right height.
Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream. Quiet voices in the night. Time is running out of sight. A lonely wind is passing by. Tries to carry all the whispers that it finds.
Join me on the next episode as we continue the construction of the concrete staircase.
Making echoes as we walk. There's no one left but you and me. It's like a made-up place that only we can see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up in a dream.
Thanks for joining me this week on my YouTube channel. Check the link below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button or make a comment so I can help you with your future construction solutions. And don't forget to follow our channel for more ideas and how-to tips for home and garden projects.